Oh, it ended early there. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the show. Uh, this is the Council on Future Conflicts. My name is Scott. This is episode 392. And today we're talking about election chaos, specifically over in Europe, but we'll kind of use what's happening in Europe to kind of foreshadow what's going to happen over here. And then we're going to talk about some China matters, lot of little stories about China that kind of go to the larger meta narrative that's going on with China, and where they're going with their power projection and things like that. So it should be some pretty good stuff in the show today. And as always, I'm joined with my good buddies. And Joe, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. I decided that since everybody always wants to talk about the shirts I have on, I would just go full on Desert Tiger stripe today, just for fun. Had a good weekend hanging out with some folks who are probably in the chat. We did all kinds of things over the weekend and had a good time. Really enjoyed it. Also helped another couple with their preparedness plans. So, full weekend, lots of good stuff going on. And, it'd be a shame that there was nothing going on in the world this weekend that we could talk about this morning. So
I know it's almost like what's happening? Nothing. All right. Early show today.
Yeah, right.
God, I just pray for a day like that. I pray for a day when literally all the conflict dies for 48 hours. I would just.
That would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, we would probably be remiss if we didn't mention that today is the anniversary of Abe's death.
That's right. Yeah, he was. Pour one out for one of the homies, right? One of the real ones.
Yeah. Pour out a thing of goldfish feed, like he did with Donald Trump that day that set the world on fire. But rest in peace, Shinzo Abe.
Am I wrong in saying that he really did seem to be a very good leader?
Well, here's the thing. He was a good leader. I wish he had been able to do more for for Japan itself, because Japan is really kind of it needs help. But that has as much to do with the Japanese as it has to do with anything else. No offense to my Japanese homies out there. I mean, gotta love some anime and all that degeneracy and whatnot, but still. The Japanese have a unique culture, and that's kind of one of the things that's holding them down. Speaking of being held back, Watcher, how are you doing today?
What?
Just it's just one of those random transitions where
okay. Doing all right, I guess. I think.
I know you're.
I think today might be the first day of coming out of the keto flu. I'm not completely done yet, but I will say that the muscle soreness has now subsided from full body to just the main muscle groups.
Keto flu is so. Explain that exactly.
Well, that's kind of what I was talking about before the show.
Keto. I've done low carb, but never full on keto.
That's kind of what I was talking about before the show. It turns out that most of the things people do to get potassium are things that you can't really have when you're on keto, and so you have to supplement it correctly. And I just went out and grabbed a potassium supplement thinking, hey, that's what I need. And it turns out, no, the potassium supplement I grabbed is less than 2% of your daily recommended potassium intake. So it was not doing it for me.
Well, it sounds like to me, Daisy Girl Williams is concerned that I'm putting Watcher on the slow bus. Yeah. No, it sounds like Watcher's putting himself on the slow bus.
No. Now, so this is something that a lot of people who go through keto go through in the first 2 weeks, roughly.
Why can't you eat bananas in keto? That's
because that's incredibly high carb. You're talking about
well, I guess you're right. That's right. Keto. I'm confusing caveman and keto.
Yeah.
Hey, SF Peaks, no, I was not going to wear a salmon shirt today. I was going to wear my Got Spam shirt, but I decided this would be so much better.
Yeah, but so anyways, it causes bad muscle weakness, kind of like severe dehydration when you lose all your electrolytes. That's kind of what it feels like. So it feels like the flu, roughly. And yeah, I've finally started getting enough potassium.
Well, I hope you recover and you pull through this affliction that's doing you harm there, my friend. Yeah, you guys, if you don't mind, I'm gonna plug this again before the end of the show. But I'd like to kind of just begin the show talking for a stitch about my campaign, the Land and Sea Paradise campaign. We are at $22,000 with 365 backers with only 19 hours. Well, actually, I think we're at like 18 hours. Let's see where we're at here. Let me update it here. Oh, we've got the new backer. That's nice. We now have 368 backers, 22,155 with 18 hours left. So we're in the final 24 hours of the campaign. We have opened up the cover D option again for the last 24 hours. We've got the miniature, the Rhino miniature in there. I did an update this morning. So if you want to check out this, I think if you're a backer, this should be in your email. But if not, you can check it out over there if you're looking at the kind of the stuff we're doing. This is by the way, we hit the $20,000 stretch goal, and this is the poster that will be coming with it. So like if you order anything, you get this. Like that's part of it. So like at 10,000, we did the bookmarks, and so now at 20,000, you get a poster. So everybody gets this poster. It'll be folded, so kind of think 11.5 by 17 folded 2 times into a quarter. So if you're one of these anti-crease Nazis or something like that, well, you're just going to have to get your ironing board out and iron out the creases. Yes, that works. But you might want to get a piece of poster board or something to put over it. So that's the TTP for that. And we're close to the 25K. So we're at 22,000. So we're not super far off from 25,000. If we get to 25,000, then that is an additional bonus art gallery in the back of the book. Kind of some behind the scenes art. We've hinted at some of this art, but there's just a lot more of it that Doug's done. And so we're going to be showing that off. And so if we get to 25K, so that'd be an extra like 6 pages or so of book that would be adding there. So yeah, very cool. And the Rhino miniature, by the way, if you're a mini guy, and I know this chat is probably not a huge mini chat, but there might be 1 or 2 that are. The purpose of getting this Rhino in this campaign is that it will have like a packaging sticker on it that is only going to be available in this campaign. So if you're into collectibles and all that kind of stuff, that stuff matters. But what scale is the mini? It's essentially the same size as BattleTech miniatures. There's a kind of side-by-side comparison. If you know what size of BattleTech, it's about like this Watcher. Is that about right? I think. Yeah, like 2 inches.
Roughly. Yeah.
So, yeah. You actually have one of the miniatures, but it's a different actor.
Yeah, I don't. Also, it's not. We shouldn't talk about it, but it's slightly different. It was one of the very first runs that.
And it's not the same scale. Is it a different scale?
Yeah, we shouldn't talk about it though.
Why not?
Because
you don't like the page up?
No, because we were told specifically not to talk about it.
When it was for sale.
Moving on.
I was not told not to talk about it.
Brent, in a backroom meeting with us, directly told us not to talk about it. But okay.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I'm not worried about it. I'll still talk about it. I'll talk about this one actually. It's the one I want to talk about. Anyway, so that's so this is the kind of final days for this the final day for this campaign. We're gonna be doing. Watcher, are you available this evening to do a kind of a closeout show?
That's the plan. As long as nothing.
All right,
comes
great.
up.
Brent's gonna be there. I hope Blaine can make it. We might invite a couple other people to see who we can get on. Just kind of see how we go. Now we won't be able to go to the final hour of the campaign because just the time difference is kind of weird here versus back in the States. So that's unfortunate, but essentially 18 hours to go in the campaign. So if you haven't backed it and you think you might, this is a good time to back it. Anything that happens between now and the final hour of the campaign goes towards the stretch goals. But once the campaign is over, then the stretch goals go away. As far as like building up to a new stretch goal, right? So that goes away, and it will just go in demand. What? Say again, Watcher.
Oh, I was just going to very rudely interrupt by echoing Daisy Girl Williams thing here. I actually started this morning by I've been re-listening to the whole series that's available so far.
Oh yeah.
I'm currently re-listening to book 2 at the moment.
Yeah, it's
incredibly highly recommended.
CWSB on the this is something you are interested in as well. CWSB over in Rumble says, Scott, any chance of getting an STL of the minifig? Watch, you've asked that question before, haven't you?
Yes. So this is something we can talk about. There, do not count anything I say as concrete. These are all just being batted around as roughly what's going to happen. They haven't worked out the exact scheduling, but the plan is they're going to release a mainline mech as not STL, just from them. You have to buy it from them. And then once that's been out for a little while, they will release custom posing and different stuff like that as STLs that you can buy to print your own of. They're not going to be super stingy about it, but they do want to be able to make sure they can pay their artists and that kind of stuff.
Very good. Yeah, it's I think it's pretty reasonable what they're doing. It's kind of a hybrid of the current model, which is only buy it from them versus, being able to do STLs and things like that. So, and ultimately customizers, once those STL files come out, the customizers will really be able to do a lot of different things with them. So,
yeah. And that's from what I understand of the current conversation, that's the way things are leaning. And it makes me incredibly excited because I've been saying for a long time that if game stores are going to survive, they're going to have to take 3D printing and on-site production into their repertoire.
I don't know that we got an extra backer, but the it's exactly the same.
369. Nice.
That's what I'm talking about. All right. Anyway, so appreciate you guys for bearing with me on this one. I hope you'll find it in your heart to support this, and if not, maybe share it with some folks. I did do a thread on X. So if you wanna just be supportive, just go on over to X and like and share that thread to just kind of get out the last day vibe out for us. So appreciate that. Oh, right. That's all I got there.
Well, can we get into it? Because I'm very excited about story 1.
Well, so this is really interesting. Couldn't have happened to some nicer folks. The Iranian warship capsizes during repairs in the port of Bandar Abbas.
I had somebody ask me where Mark Sibley was during all this, and all I remember is he said he was going on a boating trip. I don't know.
Watcher, I'll read from this story.
I'll find the image.
Yeah, if you can find that image real quick, because I think that's most important. The Iranian Navy frigate Sahand capsized during repairs in the southern port of Bandar Abbas. Iranian state media reported on Sunday. As Sahand was being repaired at the wharf, it lost its balance due to water ingress, i.e., there was a hole in it, and and compartments flooded, and it rolled over. The vessel is being returned to balance quickly. Now, Joe,
that boat right there is not being returned to balance.
No, it is not.
If this is one of their more modern, computerized, that salt water is not
home designed.
Yeah, that's not going to do good.
That salt water is not going to do wonderful things for that boat.
I wonder if the hole is about the size of a limpet mine.
That's my first thought, though, as I looked at it, and this is one of Iran's first wholly self-engineered, whole ground up all 100% Iranian engineering and thought that went into it. This is their very first modern warship that they had built all by themselves. And while I think Joe's probably got a point that I didn't think of, my first thought was, how's that shakeout phase going, boys?
I like the idea of just general incompetence by the repair workers being the cause.
Well, I will point out that no one has accounted for Colonel Mike Bennett's whereabouts during this time frame, and I'm just going to leave it at that.
That's a fact.
The Warlock may have been in theater. So,
yeah. The Warlock.
Hey, real quick, don't get it twisted. The Bershad is absolutely not an Iranian designed warship. The Bershad is it's a tanker, right, Joe? It's a former tanker that they stripped down to the hull and then built on top of.
I think it was a bulk. That. Yeah, it wasn't a tanker. I think it was a bulk.
Oh yeah, carrier. You're right. It was a bulk carrier.
Yeah. But that's exactly right. I like the idea of incompetence being the cause versus any kind of enemy action. This is the reason why I like reporting on those stories, like the Chinese booster rocket just decides to go walkabout on its own during a static fire test. It's not because anybody did sabotage it; it's because they're incompetent.
Well, Shea raises the point that it's not the Bershad, but I would be interested to look at this ship's travels and see if it's been in close proximity to the Bershad recently.
Yeah,
and maybe it was a case of mistaken identity. Somebody put the mine on the wrong boat.
Let's see here. The vessel is being returned to balance quickly. The official news citing a Navy statement. It did not specify when the accident occurred. State media carried a picture of the capsized ship and said several people were taken to hospital with minor injuries. Yeah, I could imagine this happened very quickly and fairly violently. Could you imagine being inside one of these things? Hey guys, what's this big path? So yeah, this is a big oops. If it's enemy action, then great. Iran will never admit that.
Well, it's funny is considering the alternate explanations. You almost feel like they'd want to say it was enemy action, because that's better than saying it was your own engineering incompetence. While you've got, I believe they have several more of this exact class being produced right now.
Yeah, it's. I guess if it's somebody else, you can say it's not our fault, right? But in fact, it is your fault. Actually, to me, it's more damning if Navy SEALs are able to swim into the port of Bandar Abbas and blow up a ship, blow a hole in the ship and then swim out and not get caught. That's actually.
I'm not sure if. Do you think that? Hold on though. Before we move on, let's just say, do you think that's the way it went down? If it was that, because I would say it'd be way easier to come up on it when it's in international waters.
Well, the problem is inspections, right? And my understanding is, and Joe could probably speak to this more than I could, but the military, navies around the world regularly do hull inspections of their ships. Especially when you're in
a running patrol, right? Of the engineering department. So, and in all honesty, they're supposed to be compartmentalized so that if one compartment begins to flood, this doesn't happen.
That's
right.
One of the reasons why engineering failure was my first system. Look, you want to know what I honestly think this is? I think they screwed this up and they didn't account for expansion and contraction of the metals, and that they've started to have opening pores all throughout the ship, and that's what caused their, quote, sudden influx of water into multiple different berths.
Anti-Kami is right. It was just heeding the call to prayer.
So this is, let's just be honest. This is us kind of, laughing at them on one hand, but also whisking past the graveyard because, we had an entire,
that's why I was laughing so hard.
We lost an entire LHA
class of ship. We didn't just lose one or two. The whole class is gone. They're worthless. We can't do anything with them, and we're still producing them. There are ones being produced right now.
Are you talking about the
littoral combat vessel?
No, I'm talking about the what is it? The landing assault carrier. that
You're
we
talking about the
lost.
one that
Was it the
yeah.
Bellawood or
No, it was gosh dang it. I can't say
Joe? Do you
why I
remember?
should remember this because I knew someone who was stationed on this ship once. God damn it. Bonhomme Richard.
Bonhomme Richard. Yeah. So yeah, that's the
Oh,
one that
anti-commie.
heard.
I'm gonna highlight this comment and just say you can find really good YouTube videos going over this incident. It's absolutely keynote.
Yeah. Anyway, navying is hard, right? And Iran has just found that out. Real quick, I want to get to this before we go to our next story. I want to get to this super chat over on Rumble. Pinochet's helicopter tours for $5 says the question everyone should be asking is: did Biden import enough leftists to have our own anti-populist, pro-communist, socialist riots and feed the parasites? Pro tip: don't import your slave masters. We're gonna talk about that a little bit in the election stuff because today that segment is going to focus more on England and France and what happened over there, and then the yay, the communists win. Let's go burn our cities down, right?
So I see some comments in the chat about the Bonhomme Richard. That was enemy action. That was not
That's
an
my
engineering failure.
opinion as well.
Sabotage. Yeah, that was sabotage.
And it was done at a moment where it's hard to argue it was anything but. They waited until the very day when they had discharged the firefighting systems for maintenance. Yeah, no, it was absolutely enemy action. Anyhow, we should move on though. To other enemy action.
Yes, well, there are other things out there. This is interesting. I caught this over the weekend, and I wanted to make sure we talked about this because things that will allow Israel to go ahead and get ready and invade southern Lebanon. Well, that would be wrapping up the Hamas thing, and it sounds like Hamas is starting to actually get serious about coming to the table with Israel. Hamas drops key demand, making Gaza ceasefire deal closer than ever, following months of back and forth, as well as contradictory reports from an Israeli-Hamas ceasefire, which has proven elusive thus far. The two sides and their mediators could actually be getting closer this weekend. CIA Director Bill Burns is set to embark on yet another trip to Doha. I always worry about why is it that the CIA is the one that's kind of like mediating, some sort of a diplomatic action. Or
I thought that was the oddest part of this is that the
it's
CIA
not the first time either.
Well, I know, but I mean, if I was both Israel and Hamas, that would be the last guy I would trust to broker a deal.
Well, right. Exactly right. Ron is not wrong. Hamas is only serious about its survival. Yeah, but I think that Israel is going to do this in a way to where the end state for Israel is to basically to geld Hamas so that it can't cause trouble in the future. We're learning with ISIS that's very difficult to do, but I think Israel's got it as close as anybody has to actually rooting out and destroying a terrorist group. Axios previews that Burns is expected to hold a joint meeting with the Prime Minister of Qatar, the director of the Israeli Mossad, and the head of the Egyptian intelligence services in an effort to push forward the deal that could lead to the release of 120 hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. And the fact that they still have hostages in Gaza is shocking. You'd think that Israel would have been able to find all those guys and at least, go after them. Let's see. Let me just kind of give you guys. Hamas has given initial approval for a U.S.-backed proposal for a phased truce and hostage exchange deal in Gaza, dropping a key demand that the Israeli government give an upfront commitment for a complete end to the war. A Hamas and Egyptian official said Saturday. At the same time, a key stumbling block appeared to be Hamas's desire for written guarantees from the mediators that Israel will continue to negotiate a permanent ceasefire deal once the first phase of the ceasefire goes into effect. Hamas representative told the Associated Press the group's approval came after it received verbal commitments and guarantees from the mediators that the war won't be resumed and negotiations will continue until a permanent ceasefire is reached. I mean, the fact that they're willing to kind of give up that, the future war bit, it makes me feel like they're ready to give up. They just want to get something out of it. And if Israel's smart, they'll basically amnesty everybody except for the key leaders, and then basically crucify them.
Well, timing too is a thing, right? This comes as attacks are increasing in the north. So Hamas may have gotten assurances from Iran that, hey, man, if you guys let go of the fight down here, your cousins in the north are going to pick it up, and Israel doesn't walk away clean. So there's that potential.
Yeah. Let's see.
Iran could have said, we can't fund fighting on two fronts here. So
it says here, if a deal is achieved, it could result in the first full ceasefire of the conflict, according to diplomatic sources involved. They said Hamas and the Egyptian officials who spoke on conditions of anonymity to discuss the ongoing negotiations said Washington phase deal will first include a full and complete 6-week ceasefire that would see the release of numbers of hostages, including women, the elderly, and wounded, in exchange for the release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. During these 42 days, Israeli forces would also withdraw from densely populated areas of Gaza and allow the return of displaced people to their homes in northern Gaza, the pair said. And it's interesting. I think that you could allow, kind of bona fide civilians to come back into their homes. But this is always the kind of the slippery part, right, Joe? Where, that kind of security in the rear becomes, an issue. You essentially they would have to live in basically a police state. And with the Israelis kind of, let's be honest, the Israeli TTP was to clear the people out, destroy all the buildings. I mean, that, so I don't know how much of Gaza is left. Maybe some farm houses and things like that out in the Hinterboonies around the periphery. But those dense urban areas are wrecked.
Something very unpopular here, but the folks who are living in Gaza were already living in a police state, but it was not of Israeli doing. Right. It was of Hamas's doing, right?
Yeah, that's 100%.
They were already living in a Palestinian Authority police state. So,
excuse me. All right. So anyway, any further thoughts on that, guys, before we move on?
No.
All righty. Nothing more said or heard. Let's see. Next one. This is interesting. Now, this is not the first time we've talked about this, guys. But what is interesting to me is the actual evidence, right? And the evidence mainly comes in the form of a journal or diary.
And who's portraying it? But yeah.
Yeah. Well, right. So this has come. Very interesting that the New York Times has finally decided, well, then maybe there are Americans committing war crimes. But I wonder if this isn't a way to say, oh, well, the Ukrainians aren't committing war crimes. It's these crazy PTSD'd out Iraq and Afghan war vets that are causing all the trouble. The last many weeks or even months of Ukraine coverage by mainstream media has seen a major shift. And by the way, this is not the New York Times article. This is the Zero Hedge article that references the New York Times article. So this is editorial at the beginning, and it's editorial that I agree with. Let's see, the many weeks of Ukraine coverage by mainstream media has seen a major shift. One might observe that Western reporters are actually starting to do their job for a change and digging into the inconvenient truth and stories which a year ago no outlet would have touched amid the general pro-Kiev euphoria. Joe, this makes me really think that, there might be some sort of an underlying push inside the Uniparty to put an end to this war, right?
Yeah, I think that's why you're seeing this come out now from a major liberal news outlet, is because there's the corner has been turned. Everyone knows that it's going to end up this way, but nobody knows how to end it peacefully, and this is a good way to start it, right? Viktor Orban tried yesterday, and the entire world castigated him. But I think that we will see an ending to this, and this is just one piece of that. This is shaping that narrative, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just
Yeah,
read.
it's too good. We'll bring it up when it's appropriate. But
Yeah.
that has to
We'll
go
talk
in.
about it in the election stuff because it's not a domestic segment. It's appropriate.
Yeah.
Continuing on here, a military correspondent with the New York Times has issued the newest bombshell report this weekend, which shines a spotlight not just on Ukrainian troops, but on American and foreign fighters who have volunteered with pro-Kiev forces and have committed potential war crimes. The report titled...
We need to hold up for just a second and point out that
Yeah.
if your brain didn't do an internal record scratch during the very beginning of that sentence, you might want to read it again. The New York
Times, right?
has decided to come out against the Reddit battalion.
So the paper of record, right?
Yeah, the paper of record.
Yeah. The report titled "Killings of Surrendering Russians Divide an American-Led Unit" reveals how U.S. troops are participating in units which conduct extrajudicial killings of Russians who have legitimately surrendered. Much of the eyewitnesses' accounts came from a German volunteer, always the Germans, coming from a German volunteer identified as Casper Gross, a medic in an all-foreign unit led by an American who says he has witnessed clear war crimes and his conscience has forced him to speak out. He described how last August a wounded, unarmed Russian soldier was seeking a peaceful surrender by calling out to Ukrainian front lines. Gross relates to the Times, said that he saw the soldier plead for medical attention in mix of broken English and Russian. It was dusk. A team member looked for bandages, and then he was shocked to observe the following turn of events. That is when Mr. Gross said a fellow soldier hobbled over and fired his weapons into the Russian soldier's torso. He slumped, still breathing. Another soldier fired, just shot him in the head, Mr. Gross recalled in the interview. Mr. Gross said he was so upset by the episode that he confronted his commander. He said he spoke to the New York Times after what he regarded as unwarranted killings continued. So this comes from a unit called the Chosin Company.
I want to pause and take just a second and say, Mr. Gross has some big old brass balls on him, regardless of whether I believe with other life decisions he's made. But if you look around in the current environment that we're in and decide to willingly become a whistleblower, you got some big old brass balls, and you need to be issued a wheelbarrow to carry them around in.
Yeah, the current environment has not been really great on
Let's be very clear that it hasn't been good for any kind of whistleblower since long before the current, like what people view as the current troubles started. We had such a bad deal with this that we instituted a office to oversee whistleblowers, and then it was found out that office that was overseeing whistleblowers was designed specifically to persecute whistleblowers. It's phenomenal that anyone would even come forward.
Well, it's the kind of Ministry of Truth, right? Like from 1984. The people who are in charge of the lies are the Ministry of Truth. The Department of Peace is the one that prosecutes the war. That such. Yeah. So this is interesting. Let me kind of just skip down and let's see, a Chosin Company. So that's the name of this, foreign volunteer unit. In a second episode, a Chosin member lobbed a grenade at and killed a surrendering Russian soldier who had his hands raised. Video footage reviewed by the Times shows. The Ukrainian military released video of the episode to showcase its battlefield prowess, but edited out the surrender. This means the Ukrainian military censors and those shocking that all this video footage that we've been seeing coming out of Ukraine might be edited to show Ukrainian military in the very best light in all situations.
Well, that and the scooter video, right? I mean, we all remember the scooter video, right?
Yes, the dudes
Yeah.
riding around the battlefield on the scooters. Yes, we remember the scooter video.
Yeah. So anyway, what else do we have here? In a third episode, Chosin members boasted in a group chat about killing Russian prisoners of war during a mission in October. Text message show the publication's right. A soldier who was briefly in command that day alluded to killings using a slang word for shooting. Let's see. This is a from Gross. If anything comes out about alleged POW blaming, I ordered it. Wrote the soldier who uses the call sign Andok. He added an image of a Croatian war criminal who died in 2017 after drinking poison during a tribunal at The Hague. At The Hague, I regret nothing.
Slobodan. Milosevic.
Yeah, Milosevic, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of several text messages reviewed by the Times that made reference directly or obliquely to killing prisoners. Andok said that in an interview that he had been joking. Okay. And then this one's interesting. This is a Greek soldier named Zeus. Of course, his name is Zeus. In Ukraine, killings of surrendered Russians divided American-led unit.
I totally thought Zeus would have had bigger arms. I'm just putting it out there.
Well, I mean, what are you going to do, Joe? I mean, the guy is just not. It makes me rethink the whole 300 thing, right?
Right.
Let's see. Here's another entry from Gross. He says, today a good friend willingly executed a bound prisoner. As the prisoner was sitting in a trench blindage with his jacket draped over the shoulders, Zeus came up behind him and shot him in the back of the head multiple times. Going to bed. Okay. And they, one foreign fighter warned others against snitching on bros, which kind of goes back to exactly what you said. Watcher, if they will murder random Russians who have surrendered, what would they do to somebody that they think is a snitch or is a traitor to their cause? This is the reason why this Gross guy
snitches gets put in ditches, and an American guy's like, no, I think it was snitches get stitches. No, was it? Maybe you get put in ditches.
Exactly right, Joe. So anyway, yeah, this is interesting. I think this kind of goes to the most interesting thing about this whole thing to me, and we talked about it already, is the fact of where it's appearing. The New York Times. This is absolutely part of moving the narrative closer to some sort of a ceasefire agreement. Now, of course, it won't be one that. It won't be one that the Ukraine likes or Russia likes, but it's one that the West wants. So it'll be interesting to see what starts to pop out in the near future. Joe, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a great kind of September surprise, October surprise kind of thing, like we're peace in Ukraine just in time for the election, right? And basically what they would put Zelensky would just have a gun to his head, and Putin would get only 60% of what he wants versus 100% of what he wants.
Yeah, I would. So somebody asked in the Rumble chat if this means Odessa is off the menu. No, it means Odessa goes on the negotiated settlement.
Yeah, absolutely. And the interesting thing about this is that when the negotiations fail because Russia will feel disrespect, they will have had a bunch of time to kind of get their stuff together and go back on the offensive again. So look out for a kind of fresh offensive coming out of a 6-month negotiation period. Or what we actually could see is, and of all of this peace talk that you hear, this is the one that is most likely, I think, to actually happen. Is what Trump's been talking about, how he would essentially wind the war down before he even takes his position before the inauguration, right? So, because that would actually be America dealing honestly with Russia versus some sort of a back alley deal with with Zelensky as a hostage in the middle. It'll be interesting to see how it goes. Hunch Scott didn't mention earlier. I don't know let's see. Let me go up and see what it.
There's a few.
They're asking about a website for the event, and so we had a meeting with the powers that be, and we have been told that it is in the works.
Yeah. So
we actually met with their marketing department. They're on it. It's out of our hands.
Just so you know, right? This started as a little quaint kind of, hey, let's use the CFC as a kind of get together. It's gotten much bigger than that.
It's gotten a lot bigger than that. There's going to be a lot more going on. There are some pretty big size names coming to this event, and so a little bit more that's going into it. We did tell them, yes, it's only a couple weeks away. We need to make this happen, but they are on it. Those guys know what they're doing.
Well, I trust and as a part of it getting bigger, it's no longer just called like the CFC Summer Camp Out or whatever the heck we were going to call it.
It's Shield
Days.
No, it's
right?
Shield. What was the middle
Field
word?
Days. Shield Field Days.
Shield Field Days, right? And so essentially, Shield Arms, which Stan has connections with, is becoming the kind of the name sponsor behind this event. And we're throwing our energy with them. We really like those folks. Joe's met with them and toured their facility. All of a great group of guys with the same values that we have. And so I think this is going to be an amazing event. Don't fret if the event is going on 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of August. If you want to make reservations or whatever, or make your plans and everything, I've got my plane ticket. It's non-refundable, so and it's very expensive. Flying to South Korea, so I will be in Montana. Come hell or high water. So if you want to come, absolutely plan on getting here. Joe, you've got a class at the same location.
I've got a class the 26th to 28th there. We'll be there doing community security ops, and a couple of those guys are going to stay all week. Y'all may get put to work helping us get set up, but we've got a lot going on. So I'll be there pretty much from the 23rd on. So good
Scott,
times. Definitely come on out.
I feel you owe the people. I feel you owe the people the update you're dancing around and that everybody's going to be very disappointed about.
What's that?
You tell me that we will not have any Derby pie unless it's locally produced. You go ahead.
So it will. I'm going to do everything we can to have that Derby pie there. That being said, it may not be directly from Kentucky. It may be locally sourced, but ultimately
there is a commercial kitchen available, by the way. So
that's right. That's what I hear. And so
maybe Scott can teach a Derby pie cooking class. Maybe that's.
I've never cooked one. Are you kidding me?
And Hunch, I don't know why you're worried about a website. You're literally already going to be on site, so don't sweat it. Though.
Yeah. So what will be on the website? Well, a kind of a clearer picture of who else is going to be there. I mean, it's already going to be your favorites from the CFC. And then on top of that, there are going to be some other really big names that are going to have their own fans showing up in support of. Shield has its own local kind of support network that will be coming out. So this will be a great opportunity to mix and mingle with a lot of different people. Let's be honest, we're staying on site. There will be campfires in the evening. There will be adult beverages consumed. We will have some serious kind of stuff, very similar to kind of the things that we talk about here on the show, but we're also going to have fun stuff, like
I also plan to schedule like a special live stream on Saturday while we walk around.
We're going to be doing live stream.
And whoever else watch, I don't know if you're going to be there with us on site, whichever, we're going to do live versions of the show from the site.
Joe, are you gonna have your cam, your hand cam?
Yeah, we're going to do the whole 9 yards. I even bought us dual microphones for this event.
So, very cool. So we're going to be doing the show live.
Legitimately, it's funny. We should have communicated because I actually have all that stuff. I have 2 360 mics that I was going to set up in the middle of everybody.
That's fun.
Lance Corporal veteran for $2.
That's exactly what we're talking about right now, dude. That's literally what we're talking about.
Yeah, it's not out yet. The Shield Arms is making the website. As soon as literally the minute it's out, we will be blasting it out on X, and then the next show after that.
I believe if you keep checking for shieldfielddays.com, I believe that's what we decided upon. So
I think so.
Oh, look it up, Watcher. See if it pops.
Well, let's see if they bought it. Yeah.
By the way, while we wait, random PNW guy 84 for $5 over in Rumble says, if the war is going to be coming to an end soon, there will be. Yeah. Okay. So I think we got that one. So they have bought it. So they're building the site. There probably won't be a huge amount of information on it to begin with.
I sent them a schedule yesterday, and we're already making edits to that. So because we have big name speakers for each day, and it's going to be kind of cool. There will be a lot of like individual sessions. Scott will have a couple. I'm going to do a couple of individual rucks where we go out in the woods and hump around, talk a little bit about how to pack your gear.
I'm on the verge, Joe, of deciding to take checked baggage just so I can bring my rucksack out. So,
hey, I'll have a spare or two if you need one.
All right.
But you'll have to wear something Marine Corps issue. I'm just throwing that out there.
I'll bring my own. Thank you very much.
Nice.
Hey,
you know what? You can also, if you want to save money on the checked baggage, ship whatever you want to Shield Arms' front door. They'll drop it off at the site.
Yeah, that's not a well. So it's less worry about money. It's more about I'm just worried I'm going to lose a bag.
Well, speaking of radio gear, Joe.
Oh yes,
yeah. We have an urgent breaking news story to put on here. It's about time to go to war with India because those Hindustan people are maligning the Baofeng walkie-talkie. And we saw the story today, and we just thought it would be funny.
They should be called Malfangs.
Yeah, right. So the Indians are complaining that the Maoist insurgent groups are all using the Baofeng radio. And there's a whole bunch of them there on the table they've seized and all that kind of stuff. So that's not even a good one. That's the cheap Baofeng 888, which is junk, but they are anyway, the Indians are not happy with those. We've recovered over 100 Baofeng radios. So it's the preferred radio of insurgents and resistance forces all over the world. Get yours today.
Well, now, Joe,
hold on.
You had a
link. Hold on. And not just anyone.
Yeah, get this bad boy. It's got 1,000 channels, 999. There's a link over on my page to that one.
This is the Tactical Wisdom link, and I will be sharing it in the chat. But it's on Joe's Twitter as well. $28.99.
$28.99 for 1,000 channel Baofeng. So
this is an upgrade from like the 5R, right?
Yeah. It's just a more modern version of the 5R, and it says it's 10 watts. So we shall see. I'm going to put it on a tester and see. And Todd, I see your comment about the spare batteries. Ha ha ha! You're very funny. We might have had an incident or two that involved me and batteries during range time on Saturday. So
I might have to. I'll have to make sure that I bring my radio so we can do local comms. That'll be the way to.
I have a whole radio set coming, but you can bring yours if you'd like. But I have a whole radio.
Yeah, I just want to get the rep. I want to get the reps in. The problem is I left the charger in Louisville, so I'm glad you'll have chargers there. So.
Yeah, you know what? You should have. We should get you actually in one of these trips back, a NC Scout RTO course.
I'd love to do that. Yeah.
Todd, I'm surprised you didn't mention me losing my phone, but that's okay.
What is Rom talking about here? What is Scott talking about before Wrecking Ball? What?
I don't know. But I will say that I think, Scott, that we should tack on that thing we had in the chat as the beginning of this topic. I think that works out well for us.
Yeah.
Joe B. I'm not. Which one's this?
The Morning Joe segment.
Oh yeah. Well, I was gonna. Yeah, this kind of goes to some of the election chaos, but
okay.
So let's push pause on that. Joe, talk about tactical-wisdom.com for us real quick.
Yeah, wrote a couple articles last week, more than one in a week, which was a little bit shocking, right? Got everybody all, oh my gosh, what's happening? I think that as things ramp up in the world, we should ramp up our preps. I wrote a kind of special Independence Day article about what being independent actually means, and that really means getting out, doing the things, being free from everyone's influence, whether I'm free from needing to get food from somebody else or free from needing to rely on the government for security, all those kind of things. So it's a pretty good article. A lot of folks liked it, but check that article out. There you can also find my radio programming service. If you've got Baofeng radios or any other kind of radio that you need programmed, let me know. Send them to me, and we can make that happen. It's under consulting services. We can program your radios. I can also come out and review your preparedness plan. I did that for some folks yesterday. So there are a lot of different things I do on there other than just that. But also have our training classes listed. And there's been a lot of interest in the new one, Community Security Ops, where we basically take book 3 and put it into a class. We talk about setting up an obstacle plan, setting up checkpoints and roadblocks and observation posts and things like that. I know it's fun to do all the cool guy stuff, all the shoot house stuff and running ambushes and raids like we do in the Scout and Recce course. But let's be honest, 99% of your time is going to be conducting observation posts and checkpoints. So we might as well practice that, get some reps in, as Scott just pointed out, in learning how to set those up correctly and how to secure your bug out location or whatever it is you have, your farm, your compound, whatever you're doing. We might even be working on the security plan for Camp Ponderosa while we run the class. But we've got that one coming up here in Montana, the 26th to the 28th of July. And then a month later in August, the 23rd to the 25th of August, we're running that course down in North Carolina at NC Scouts Place. So we're running that class all over. Cool stuff. Learn some skills. And then after that, we're back to fieldcraft courses. We got them coming up in North Carolina, Missouri. A lot of good stuff going. Get out and get trained. Get ready.
Very good. And yeah, all things I totally agree with. Let's jump into this election chaos. Watcher, let's put the American stuff at the end of this. Let's kind of, because I want to get to the results in France first, and then we'll reflect on England, and then we'll talk a little WEF, and then we'll go to Iran had an election, and then we'll talk the U.S. stuff at the end of this segment. So if you haven't heard, there was a massive sea change of far leftist coalition that shocked Macron and his party and took over by a massive landslide. Took over the French, what do they call it? The General Assembly. Anyway, whatever it is, whatever it is. Leftist coalition set for shock victory in French election. Le Pen limps to third behind Macron. Last minute arranged broad left-wing coalition known as the New Popular Front. So the idea is that a lot of left-wing parties rallied after the RN. What does that stand for again? RN something national rally. After the RN did so well in the initial election, there a coalition of groups that weren't even polling, right, as a group, came together as one in order to then use the backlash vote against Le Pen, and it actually overcame Macron's party even. The last minute arranged broad left-wing coalition known as the New Popular Front was leading a tight French legislative election Sunday ahead of both President Emmanuel Macron's centrist and Le Pen's rightist.
So this exposes two problems. I'm sorry. Number one, first of all, these riots are what you got when they won. Imagine how they'd be if they had lost.
Exactly
but
right.
Two, This is the danger of multi-phased elections. If you do a one and done election, then you're truly getting how people feel. The two-phased election, you're getting an initial feel, and that initial feel influences the votes of others. That's not democracy. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And so I'm not going to worry about these. These were predictions at the time of the story because the election since tabulated. It looks like the anti-national rally front worked better than anyone expected, catching the poll companies by surprise. The projected results suggest the coordinated anti-RN strategy under which the left and center tactically withdrew their candidates from runoffs had paid off. If confirmed in final voting tally, the projections suggest that none of the three main blocs will be able to easily command a governing majority, potentially leaving France in a period of political gridlock. So the interesting thing is that the left wing has said that they absolutely will not work with Macron's party. They won't work with the National Rally. So essentially, you have this kind of morass of three competing parties. This is the problem when you have all these multiple parties, and we're going to talk about this additionally in the UK segment as well.
Look at that 90% top marginal tax rate. Woo!
Yeah. This right. That's what I'm getting to next. So Mélenchon said that the new Popular Front government would apply its program and nothing but the program, as he refuses any negotiation with Macron's party or any combination. So some of the things that they've promised, undoing the pension reform, that's one of the things that really kind of brought a lot of people out to protest against Macron's government, both on the right and left, which is interesting. Raising the minimum wage, 90% top marginal tax rate. Holy cannoli, you don't want to be rich in France. That's for damn sure. But I wonder, does that count towards like capital gains and all that kind of stuff, which is really how most, rich people make their money. And freezing prices and some consumer staples. So, Joe, what happens when I tell you I'm going to do a price freeze, right? And so price controls and things like that. What do you always get when you freeze prices?
Inflation,
shortages, right? So, like the reason why you're able to,
because I would stop producing that item because I can't make
exactly
any money
right.
on it. Yeah.
Because you can't make money off of it. The only way potentially to do it would be to subsidize those things, and that only helps on the producer side. It still makes
Hence,
it.
That's why you have the 90% top tax rate, right? I can only raise the minimum wage and freeze prices if I've got a lot of income coming in from the richest people who will just move, by the way.
You're right. They will either move or they'll just stop making money, right? Or they'll stop paying taxes, and it'll just go underground, which is what happened in Italy. That was one of the things that our girl down there in Italy was really fighting against, was kind of tax compliance. Not a pretty picture for France, for sure. And let's see. Andre Tuini, head of sales and trading at Saxo Bank Frank, says this is a big surprise, a real blow for the RN. That said, it's not necessarily good for markets. The new Popular Front taking the lead could generate concerns due to their program, which was the most poorly perceived by the markets. So essentially, it's a This is like literally a communist party that has won in France. So, and they're not even shying away from the whole communist moniker. And real quick, Watcher, do we have any of the footage from what was going on in?
I don't have any prepared. I can certainly grab some if you want. I mean,
yeah, let's just talk about that. Actually, hold on to that, and we'll talk about that at the end when we kind of talk about what comes from all this.
I mean, do we really need to see another video of France burning down?
Well, that's true. We did use it for our thumbnail. I didn't want people to feel like they were slighted.
No, I just mean
I'm kidding.
You see 10 or 20 of them, and they're all just kind of the same year after year after year.
Yeah, they all kind of flow into each other, right?
If you could, Watcher, bring up this next tweet because this is X post. I gotta stop saying tweet. This is by Klaus Arnemus. The RN party had more votes than any of the other parties, yet they gained the less seats. All parties, including conservative, have colluded with the left to defeat the RN. There is a burning passion for nationalism across Europe, and no amount of rigged elections will change that. So this is the interesting thing here, right? If you look at these, if you add the Les Republicans here, the blue party, to either of the top two, they still don't make the number of votes that the RN makes. So the RN got over 10 million votes. The Macron's party, but only got 143 seats. Macron's party got 6.5 million votes with 157 seats, and the new Popular Front got 6.9 million votes with 176 seats. So this is the kind of the French version of, you know, winning the electoral college but losing the popular vote, right? You know, like if all the lefties in California vote, there's just so many people in California, but at the same time, they only have so many electoral votes. And so this is how this happens, right? So what's going to happen, right? The RN, those people are going to get even more pissed because this leftist coalition is going to bring in some absolutely nutty ideas. And the common sense folks that are in Macron's party will then drift over to the RN once they see the absolute dumpster fire that is coming. So essentially, the party in the middle will get destroyed, which is what always happens in these situations. But in order for that to happen, people have to make mistakes, and the mistake is putting the new Popular Front in. And French people, unlike Americans, you know, will get out and actually protest in ways that we've never seen in America.
If it rains hard, the French liberal women take their shirts off and do something.
Well, you know, just the farm protests, right? I've never seen farmers in America protest the way they do in France. I mean, there's
busy farming.
Yeah, well, that's true. But there's some unique things about Europe that allow that to happen. So anyway, this is interesting. This is one of those split elections, right? And so the other thing that I want to point out, so what exactly will that bring, right? Well, it brings stories like this next piece from Modernity become a little more important. And this is, watch, Klaus Schwab says humanity must be forced into collaboration with the globalist elite. Right. This is essentially the globalist elites winning in France.
I want to pull apart something here, and I'd like to break down a series of 4 yearly headlines. Okay. So initially it was, here is my plan for the Great Reset, and here is how global leaders should come together in order to do it. And then it was, there seems to be some concern about this big global reset. Here's how we can tell our citizens and make them more informed so they'll be willing to go along with it. And then stage 3 was, wow, it's really weird. All the global elites seem to have come together in this new thing, and that's great. But all of the regular people of the earth seem to not trust us at all now. Weird. And now we're at step 4, which is, well, they don't trust us, but fuck them.
You know, what's interesting is if you look at their logo, it consists of a series of rings with essentially a chain ran through it. They don't do things by accident. I'm just throwing that out there.
They're gonna be putting y'all in chains.
In chains. No, but they literally are.
Yeah.
A 15-minute city is putting you in chains. And I had a guy argue with me about this because he thinks it's a great idea. No, it's literally being a prisoner. So
right. It's literally, yeah. Because once the best way to keep you into prison is for you to think that the prison is your home.
You know what's hilarious is that the same people who are screaming that Gaza was an open air prison are literally the exact same people who want you to live in a 15-minute city.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
It's just utterly phenomenal.
All right, let me read into this. So, speaking at the WEF's annual meeting of the new champions, also dubbed the Summer Davos in China, Schwab stated that in order to drive the fourth industrial revolution forward, elites must aggressively drive their agenda home. To drive future economic growth must be to embrace innovation and force the collaboration across sectors, regions, nations, and cultures to create a more peaceful, inclusive, sustainable, and resilient future. A lot of buzzwords in there that we're familiar with, if you've ever heard any WEF propaganda. He added, at this critical juncture, the active participation of all stakeholders is essential to ensure a
I want to
sustainable development path.
You can't force collaboration. They mean the opposite things. Force and collaborate.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's listen to this little clip from old Klaus Schwab. I feel like we have to listen to this insanely evil man from time to time just to remind ourselves how stupid he is, or how stupid his ideas are.
No, also him.
At the same time, we are witnessing rapid technological advances with many opportunities, and with artificial intelligence rapidly transforming our production and our lives. And breakthroughs from the fourth industrial revolution provide new opportunities for global prosperity and growth. All those factors will have a profound impact on the future of humanity, provided we are able to work together. To drive future economic growth, we must embrace innovation and foster collaboration across sectors, regions, nations, and cultures to create a more peaceful, inclusive, sustainable, and resilient future. At this critical juncture, the active participation of all stakeholders is essential to ensure a sustainable development path. I'm delighted that close to 2,000 leaders from multiple sectors, representing some 80 countries and regions, have come to Dalian for this year's meeting.
Notice
stakeholders
sitting in the seat of honor next to next to Klaus.
Right. Yeah.
Is the premier of China.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
I just want to say, in response to CLM here, they have decided that that's what they're going to call themselves, and they're not going to stop. So I've just decided that, much like they redefine words all the time, that this is the elite they're talking about, and I agree.
We should let the elites be in charge.
Hey, no, not that we should let them be in charge, but yeah, you are a creepy alien bent on human destruction.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting just to kind of see their focus. Risk and opportunities will coexist. Breakthroughs from the fourth industrial revolution. So I mean that's the kind of thing. It's like when he says the fourth industrial revolution, right? That is such a coded and loaded phrase, right? Because that's what he wrote a book called The Fourth Industrial Revolution, if I remember correctly, and that's all about stakeholder capitalism. The problem with capitalism are the shareholders, right? We need to get the shareholders out of, because then you're beholden to them. But if you remove the shareholders, then you don't have to worry about the people, right?
I also need to comment on this real quick.
For the win, by the way.
Oh, I'll get to that, but real quick, Crockpot Broccoli. Oh, all right.
Sorry.
Well,
Go ahead.
Crockpot Broccoli says he's old enough to have been in the Hitler Youth back in the day. Well, I have some news for you on that front. He's not just old enough to have been in the Hitler Youth.
He was in the Hitler Youth.
I'm just saying that old boy might still have some uniforms kicking around in a closet somewhere.
Well, it's not the Nazi uniforms that worry me. It's this Star Trek uniform. I feel like he's getting ready to announce Soylent Green is not. It's not really people. Trust me.
Right.
Lance Corporal Veteran for $2 says, "What's with Austrians and world domination?" Oh, good question.
You know what? I literally had this thought just the other day when somebody, not for the first time, but I was getting a refresher course on the latest of the Nestle Corporation's attempts to literally make water inaccessible to 90% of the human population.
Well, what do you need water for when you have Nestle Quick?
And I'll be honest, like if we're gonna do just a little, the philosophical thing that I came down on in this was, maybe a country based that got its basis and start around mercenary activity shouldn't be trusted in the rest of world affairs.
Yeah. Let's see. Schwab, the architect of the so-called Great Reset, has in recent years said that he envisages humankind transitioning into a new age where there will be a fusion of our physical and our digital and our biological dimensions in a new world. I mean, that is some Brave New World kind of gobbledygook that he's got going on there. Schwab has previously declared this new era of integration with digital technologies will mean that you do not even have to have elections anymore. Oh, well, that's convenient. Those pesky elections. Like I said, he's all about getting voters and stakeholders out of, because that's the problem, right? They just need to sit in their 15-minute cities, go to work, do their jobs, shut up, and be quiet. Enjoy what we give you because that's all you get. And he's also fantasized about humanity embracing brain implants and leaders having capability to read everyone's brain waves. I mean, I don't know, guys. I mean, this is
actually, I should be very clear. If we're going to talk about this, we should at least talk about it correctly. Most of Klaus's ideas are actually just rehashes of Yuval Harari's ideas.
Well, Yuval's one of his advisors. So
isn't it Klaus's advisor?
Yeah. One of Klaus's advisors. Yeah, that's right.
Klaus is the founder of the World Economic Foundation, by the way, not just a president. So,
yeah.
Hey, Mads. It's bold of you to assume that he doesn't.
Bold. All right. So let's look on. France is not the only country that's had a new result. Reformist Masoud Pezeshkian. I think that's probably close. Pezeshkian elected Iran's president. Reformist Masoud Pezeshkian has been elected as Iran's new president, beating the hardline conservative rival Saeed Jalili. The vote was declared in Dr. Pezeshkian's favor after he secured 53.3% of the more than 30 million votes. Now, here's the thing about Iran I can't figure out is because from time to time you get these wackadoo kind of out of left field candidates that win, like Ahmadinejad and then this guy. I always assume that in a place like Iran, you don't get anything without the IRGC giving it to you, essentially.
The truth is that this position is a figurehead. It literally has no actual power in the Iranian government. So.
Well, that's the other side, Joe. Is it the mullahs just let the people elect whoever they want because they know that the guy has no ability, no agency to actually affect any real change? I think
it's more likely that they feel that the world will accept this guy more so than the Ayatollah's son, who is the other favorite. So
before we get stuck in too deep into the actual politics of this, I'm going to play a new game I have. Which is I'm going to pick words that Scott has a hard time pronouncing, and I'm going to compare his pronunciation to the online pronunciation dictionary. Are you ready to see how you did?
Let's see how he did.
What? Is that his name?
Yes.
Pezeshkian sounds exactly the same to me. Pezeshkian. I just got to slur my speech a little more. So, like a drunken Scott would definitely be a better pronouncer of Farsi names.
I honestly think that the best, the line that tells you more about why this guy was elected is where it says, Dr. Whomever, Dr. Indianapolis, a 71-year-old heart surgeon, a member of the Iranian parliament, is critical of Iran's notorious morality police. The morality police are what was the cause of the last round of rioting. So this could very well be an attempt to try and calm domestic issues.
Yeah, I mean this guy is clearly he's more soft towards the West, but I think he's more soft towards more reformist minded Iranians. Here's the thing: the mullahs actually the social kind of not the when you have the kind of knobs of power, the social knob is one that they could slack up a little bit and give their people some space. Without too much difficulty, I think. And maybe this guy is their way of doing that. Widespread discontent meant that millions of people boycotted the elections. Lack of choice of candidates dominated by Islamic hardliners and the impossibility of real change as long as the supreme leader tightly controls policies added to their frustration. Some people who did not vote for the first round were persuaded to cast their ballot for Dr. Pezeshkian. This time around to prevent Mr. Jalili from becoming president. Which is exactly what happened to Le Pen, right? The leftists came out because they were scared shitless from what just happened with.
Hey, listen, for everyone criticizing Scott in the chat about his pronunciation, listen. As a Southern gentleman, he don't need to learn how to say them foreigners' names.
I mean, I could do the whole show, and that Tennessee, ease, the Waverly ease. That's what my mama used to call
Waverly,
it.
Tennessee.
That's right, Waverly ease. I don't think you want to listen to that, but maybe I should say I reckon y'all don't want to hear none of that.
I think Wanda does. Wanda wants to hear you talk like that.
That could very. Maybe I'll do an entire segment at the get together in accented Central Tennessee dialect, and I'll even break out all of the aphorisms that my granddaddy used to say. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so this is one of those kind of things. It's interesting to see how this will play out because I think he will try to push back, but ultimately, the Guardian Council is who really runs the show there. Let's see. In order to stand, both candidates had to make it through a vetting process run by the Guardian. Yeah, that's it. Guardian Council, a body made up of 12 clerics and jurists that hold significant power in Iran. The process saw 74 other candidates removed from the race, including several women. The Guardian Council has previously been criticized by human rights groups, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, right, exactly right. So anyway, this is definitely a change of pace in Iran. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. Ultimately, when it comes to the IRGC, nothing will happen. The IRGC take their marching orders from the mullahs, and this guy is just basically going to let women get away with showing a little forehead hair, like some bangs or something under their headscarves in order to keep the protests at a minimum. But news of note. All right. So we talked end of last week, I think it was Friday, about the English elections. And, there was some grumblings in the chat, like, oh, why is this important? And, even we struggle sometimes to correctly, say why something like that's important. Well, ultimately, I think, it's elections like this one in England that remind me why, two-party system is probably the way to go. Because, when you have these kind of split results, you essentially have what happened in England, which is, a result that nobody really wants. Let's play this video here by Callum. This Callum is used to be on the Lotus Eaters, working for Sargon of Akkad, but ultimately,
is he not there anymore?
Yeah, he is left to do his own thing. I don't think there was any acrimony there, because he was doing trips and things like this, and kind of wandering reporting and things like that. And he's been covering a lot of the election stuff. So it's been good content. So let's play. This video is a little long, but we'll see.
It's worth it.
Yeah, let's listen, and we'll push pause and comment here as
Labour activists across the land are incredibly happy because they've managed to rid themselves of Jeremy Corbyn and the stench of anti-Semitism, and finally, the public has decided to vote for them, and they now have a democratic mandate to reshape the country. Except no, that's not what happened. This is a victory by technicality. First past the post won them this, and if this wasn't first past the post, this election would have been a disaster for them. Because when you go and look at the details, well, Labour were polled to win about like 41% of the vote, and instead they've won 33, which is a bit of a drop compared to the polling, but when compared to previous elections is also not exactly great. It's only 1% more than Jeremy Corbyn's disaster in 2019, and well, it's 7% less than what Jeremy Corbyn got in his defeat in 2017. In fact, in Keir Starmer's own constituency, he's got half the votes that he did under Jeremy Corbyn. So what the fuck's happened?
But objection, it's not relevant. He still is in charge.
Yeah, I
Right.
mean, a win is a win is a win, but ultimately, it's been in the media, this is being touted as a massive landslide victory for Labor, right? When in reality,
I completely get that, but us going, oh yeah, but bro, you didn't get as many votes as before. That is completely irrelevant, and that's where we always lose. We want to find an excuse that makes the loss a little bit easier to take. Doesn't change the facts on the ground and what's going to happen to politics and the legal environment and the social environment in the UK. Doing this whole, but lol, bro, you got 7% less votes does not change one thing. It just makes us feel better about it. That's all.
well, so the interesting thing about the British system is that they can call for new elections at kind of at odd times. And so the problem with a tenuous kind of victory like this is very quickly, if you do something really stupid, it can go the other way very quickly. And you could have a new election like within 9 months, right? So the interesting dynamic will be the fact that conservative voters, are almost 2-1 outnumber Labor voters. So it'll be interesting to see how that mix goes. So let's go ahead and continue the video here a little more, because I want to get into where he starts.
Boris Johnson were put in charge by the public to carry out a bunch of right-wing reforms. Boris Johnson then betrayed the entire voter base and did none of that. In fact, made things much worse. At which point he was replaced, and the members of the Conservative Party had to vote on a new leader, and they voted for
Liz Truss.
He wanted to do tax cuts for right-wing
the cabbage head.
Of course, the party apparatus cooed her, rejected the position of their own members, and installed the Indian guy that the voters of their own party had just rejected. Needless to say, people weren't too happy with what they just did, and so rightly abandoned them and voted for reform, whereas elderly boomers, who are doing just pretty, decided to continue voting for the Conservatives because pensions, I guess, that they just do that. These people just vote Conservative because they've always voted Conservative pretty much at this point, which means that the right-wing vote was split. So now
hold this right here. So this is interesting, right? So you got two pieces here, right? Yeah. Well, this
I'm kidding.
So this is vote share percentage versus, right and left. So 41%, 20 for the Labor, Conservatives had 20%, Reform had 16%. But when you look at the actual representative seat share, you've got 70 seats going there, 12 going to the Liberals and the right. So this is just like some really weird kind of stuff going on in that doesn't end up representing the people, right? And so I think the key thing here is that A, the British system is fucked, and B, you're going to have a lot of angry people in the streets very quickly without any kind of real mandate to rule them. Which, when you have people who are pissed off, Joe, that's to me the interesting piece, right? I think what this shows is you're probably going to have significant unrest in the UK within the year.
But that's an election projection. That's not the actual vote results. So again, it's not necessarily the truth that we're seeing here.
Right. I mean, it's, but this is just giving an example of the set to produce result that is highly skewed against right-wing parties. So this is just an example. All right, little more, and then we'll call it a day on this one.
Even if Labour got bugger all votes, they win massively, which is doubly the tragedy when you go and have a look at the few Labour voters that there were. Those people don't even know what they voted for in terms of policy. In fact, they don't care. They literally just voted for change, according to their own words when polled. And fundamentally, that's why the country looks like this, which means if Jeremy Corbyn was still leader and was singing "Throw the Jew Down the Well," he would have won. That's what this is. Literally, he would have won just because of the way the voting system works, even if this would have been a disaster in terms of votes. In fact, there are some funny things that came out of this, though. Which
all right, I think this is good. Hold it here. So this and the French result just make me realize how thankful we are to have a two-party system right now. You could argue the validity of the two-party system till the cows come home, because there are flaws in the two-party system. But the good news is that one party almost always, and this is especially true in local elections, one party wins and the other party doesn't win, right? It's not this kind of like, oh, well, we got 35% of the vote and we win, right? This is, we get to then have a tyranny over the rest of the, 55% or whatever that didn't vote for us. So, yeah, I absolutely agree with this. Ammo is currency in the chat. Abolish universal suffrage. I have been an advocate of, service guarantee citizenship. That would mean that everybody on this council would be able to vote. But if you don't serve your country, if you don't have some skin in the game, then adios. You're not in the electorate, as far as I'm concerned. We have a wandering.
Speaking of somebody
Ron.
with some skin in the game.
Hey, Ron, how you doing? Nothing. And
Nothing heard.
All right. Anyway, so yeah, it's just something that I wanted to bring up, and I think it's important. It's important to see where our allied countries are going to be in absolute gutted turmoil in the next 6 to 9 months. But it's also, an opportunity to learn from, the failures of conservatives in other countries. All right, let us go on. All right, so let's hit some of the domestic stuff that we have we had a couple of these. Let's do the Biden stuff now, because this is absolutely.
So I've got some to queue up for you, and they're all related. I'm gonna have to find some of these other ones, but the first is a goodie.
There were several. The several were shared in the council chat.
I'll get to them. The one of the main ones that's important is not there, but I'll find it. So you may recall, viewers, that I said that there are factions within the Democratic Party that are at war, and that specifically whatever faction has the control of the media apparatus has turned against Joe. They show it in all kinds of little things, but I think my favorite is this little snarky one that happened when shortly after we came on this morning on Morning Joe.
A special guest joining us now, the 46th president of the United States and presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden, calling in to Morning Joe right now. Good morning, sir.
Hey, Mika, I'm more than presumption. I'm going to be the Democratic nominee.
There you go.
Okay, well, Mr. President, that leads.
We have
I have a question.
More than
Siri, what does presumptive mean?
oh my god!
So we've also got let's see. During this same interview, it kind of became pretty clear that the old man was just reading from a script, because the stuff he was saying did not make any sense compared to what was being said to him?
Democrat, Joe, let me say it this way. The reason I've been out on the road so much all over the country, and while Trump is riding around in his golf cart, filling out his golf cart before he even hits the ball. But anyway, he Democrat.
Sorry, I might have the right clip.
What?
Yeah.
That's still, I mean, what does he care what Donald Trump does in between campaign stuff? Because let me be honest, the campaign stuff that I'm seeing are doing way better than anything that POTUS is doing.
Yeah, and I can't find this last clip, but he kind of went Angry Joe a little bit this morning, and I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, Joe, the whole script thing is frustrating to me, though. I mean, this is absolutely the way to take his brain out of the discussion.
Here we go. So it was in relation to a question about the rise of far right nationalism in America.
The American public is not going to move away from me as an average voter. And again, I'm here for two reasons, pal. One, to rebuild the economy for hardworking middle-class people, give everybody a shot, just a straight shot. Everybody gets a fair chance, number one. Number two, remember all this talk about how I don't have the black support? Come on, give me a break. Come with me. Watch. I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elites in the party who they know so much more. But then these guys,
they're not elites.
Run against me. Go ahead, announce the president. Challenge me at the convention.
They already had a primary. That's the challenge.
That guy he just wants to fight everybody now.
Oh, Angry Joe had his shots.
Yeah. Welcome, Ron. How are you doing?
Oh, fine. Got all my morning chores done, so happy to join y'all. Give Joe a little backup here, because that camel. Hey, Joe, you really need to pull the shirt down in the back. It's riding up in the back, unless you want to show everybody your tramp stamp in the back there.
I think, yeah.
He's like, how does Ron know I have a tramp stamp? Oh my God.
That was
I just don't really know where that's going, but
well, it's not going anywhere. I'm just trying to
bro.
You were in a bit of a mood earlier this morning in the.
No, actually, I was not. I was 100%. I was happy. Others were in a mood.
That's okay. I mean, between AutoZone and U-Haul, we've got it licked.
No, I'm not going there. I'm not going there because
come on, Ron. No, that's not
I didn't say anything bad. I was talking about corporations.
The dude had a point, but we don't do that.
I know.
Here.
No, I got it. They will be hoisted on their own petard in time.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, Joe, I think you accurately hit the point. This is like all I'll say about this is that we are here to talk about like the issues, right? Not the people that are selling the issues out there. Because, the people will see, what people are all about on their own. So they don't need us to talk about them. Anyway, so that's all I'll say about that. Ron, let me ask you a question. Did you get a chance to hear what the deal that we were just listening to with the president and Morning Joe?
The former vice president. Let's be factually accurate.
You got to remember who's talking here. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Ron muted himself, so now we don't know if he heard it or not. I guess not.
Oh, so apparently Joe went, not our Joe, crazy Joe, went into the debunked suckers and losers hoax again today, despite the fact that the media has stopped running coverage for him on that story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Apparently that was right after the clip I just shared. So. Woot.
The more they have him come out and talk, the worse it gets.
Yeah.
So Ron
hold
says
up.
he's having computer problems. It's not.
All right.
So let's before we move on, I guess we got one last thing, and I guess this is true. So I have heard from a lot of people that the game making thing from this doesn't make a lot of sense with what's going on with the faction warfare, and I think that is true if you think everything is settled, and I don't think that the people who are at war here think everything is settled. But the game theory would be, hey, it's very stupid to come out and do anything that would weaken Joe Biden now, because it looks like he's likely to win, and you're just making a powerful enemy.
Got it.
It looks like he's back. But apparently the man himself decided to address it this morning on the Morning Joe show.
The American public is not going to move away from me as an average.
Sorry, this is an extended on a clip we already listened to, by the way.
Voter. And again, I'm here for two reasons, pal. One, to rebuild the economy for hardworking middle-class people, give everybody a shot. Just a straight shot. Everybody gets a fair chance. Number one. Number two, remember all this talk about how I don't have the black support? Come on, give me a break. Come with me. Watch. I'm getting so frustrated by the elites. Now, I'm not talking about you guys, but about the elites in the party who they know so much more. But if any of these guys don't think I should run against me, go ahead, announce.
So anyhow, that's him coming out. That was not what I thought the clip was, but yeah, that's essentially him coming out and threatening the party elites that, hey, I'm gonna be in, and you're on the shit list now.
Well, listen, pal.
Like,
Everybody's told me I'm popular. America loves me. I'm the most popular, hardworking president since even before George Washington. My God, come on now. I mean, he was pumped up, and I'm sure Jill was probably, giving him a, like, if you're really, verbal Joe, and he was Scranton Joe again there. He was all bully, like, let's go in the back and let's go fight. And when he says, then the challenge, come watch me, we're going to be watching, Joe. And guess what? You're going to fuck up again.
He's probably in the last 72 hours of his second candidacy. And that's kind of what that comment sounded like this morning, right? People are always most defiant just before they lose.
Yeah, it sounds flailing.
I mean, for me, this is not even like tongue in cheek, right? I just am not inspired to confidence from what I just heard, right?
No, and that's that's it exactly. That's what I mean by flailing. Is that the actual champ move here would have been to say nothing and continue with your plan.
All right, let's move on to our next one. Oh, so do we have any more Joe POTUS U.S. stuff, or is that the end and we're on to China?
He's making a fool of himself, and I guess we should probably. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Watcher. You heard he canceled his meeting with the Senator Warner Democrats. Okay, I don't.
Yeah.
Sorry if you already covered all that.
No, we didn't say that on the show. I was saying that I heard it. Yeah.
Actually, you shared a link in the private chat, right?
Yeah, I'm grabbing it now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My read on my. Go ahead.
Excuse me, but Nadler and the other three senior House Democrats, they've publicly announced their displeasure with the Biden candidacy. So. Yeah,
to me that I think this is them. This is the Biden camp going full speed ahead with, screw you, I'm not stepping down, right? This is them declaring essentially war against anybody internally within the Democratic Party.
I should add that MSNBC, his only really remaining loyal media outlet, made a call just a few minutes ago for his aides to be allowed on the debate stage with him, which
oh good Lord.
Oh no.
I'm not. Yeah.
No.
Let me read this
admission
one here.
Of weakness. Oh my God.
Let me read this tweet here. Breaking news: Biden cancels meeting with Democrats to discuss his future. The meeting between Biden and Senate Democrats, which was due to take place today, led by Senator Mark Warner, has reportedly been canceled at the last minute. The reason for the cancellation is unclear at present. It's a declaration of war against those within the Democratic Party that don't bend the knee to Biden's, the people, Biden and the people who are behind him.
Look, I just want to know how they think they can get away with treating the first female black president like this.
Right? He is the first female black president. I heard him say it.
So you say, yeah, it's he said it. Joe's right. You can't deny truth.
Well, what's interesting is compare and contrast his. I mean, we didn't see him on camera when he's talking to Morning Joe and Mariska there, or whatever her name is. But
I was going to bring that up. Yeah, I'm not listen, you can run it.
Then yesterday, the Philly church service where I mean, it's still early in the morning or relative, and he looked zombie-like.
Yeah, they probably didn't want him to say anything in front of anyone. So.
Well, hey, listen, I mean, I'm not saying they did it this time because there were too many fuck-ups for this to be real, but they did literally just come out and say, hey, the Biden campaign should use AI. And I'm sorry, but like any candidate who's just going to be a voice on the line from now on, I can't actually take full like I can't believe that's you. It would be so easy. I wanted to talk
about that. I'm glad you brought that up, Watcher, because here's the thing. Those are the people who are pushing the hardest against misinformation and disinformation, literally calling for misinformation and disinformation.
Facts.
And it should scare everyone.
Hey Joe, check the link in the private chat if you see.
Do you want me to show that?
Yeah, this is interesting. We were talking about the Patriot Front stuff earlier. Did you see this, Joe?
Well, the one from Louisville Gun. I'm trying to get it to come up on mine.
Yeah, this is the Black Hebrew Israelites doing their own Charlottesville, but you won't see this national headlines or hand wringing on the TV about this. Yeah, 100%. And what you have correctly had your finger on the pulse of these guys for a while, and several domestic violent events have been attributed to Black Hebrew Israelite, folks, right?
Yeah. Is this that's real? When did this happen?
I don't know exactly when. This is video.
I'm going to point out the bomb squad truck sitting right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so this is
black. So this is true, right? Patriot Front, in all honesty and for all of its glowiness, has never killed anyone. The Black Hebrew Israelites kill people on a regular basis,
weekly basis.
Yeah. So
here they are.
This is the original. What the original tweet said. It said Black Hebrew Israelites are marching New Orleans in response to the Patriot Front marching in Nashville, Tennessee. So evidently, this is something recent.
So this is apparently like today or yesterday,
right?
So.
The two groups haven't encountered each other yet, but it's starting to look like more and more like election season. So it will be interesting to see when the Patriot Front, we'll find out very quickly if they are Fed boys when they actually meet up against the Black Hebrew Israelites. Because
there's one video out where I guess a group of citizens accosted and unmasked a Patriot Front participant.
That was last year in Seattle. But yeah, that did happen. It did happen.
But remember when they arrested a bunch of them in Idaho 2 years ago, I guess it was, and they, I think we all commented on the show how they kept them masked and everything like that while they were in restraints in cuffs or zip ties. It's just amazing. I mean, God, it's whatever. Amazing.
Yeah, I don't believe that all the guys walking and riding on U-Haul trucks are feds, but I absolutely believe that the feds are somehow kind of, sprinkling the pixie dust around to help.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah.
So,
yeah.
I know that the group when it began was 100% organic, but that's not to say there's not some influence. And I don't know the right answer, but there is. I would tell you there probably is someone whispering in their ear that's directing them this way, and they somewhere got a huge bunch of funding because before it was like 25 guys in Austin, Texas. Now it's national with a really fancy website. So Draw
Look,
your own conclusions.
Well, no, I mean, I'll go even further, man. I'm just going to say this, like, flat out. You cannot convince me that their pattern of activity is not literally just, hey, when are the Democrats doing really bad and need to scare people? Because that's legitimately the only time you ever hear about them.
Whenever we need a narrative change, these guys come out, right? We need to change the narrative away from Joe Biden's incompetence and his poor performance at a debate. Boom, they show up, and in increasingly large numbers. So they need a boogeyman, and here it is.
Yeah. So all this kind of stuff is kind of head scratchers because, I see it in video, but I've never actually experienced it. I've never met anybody who takes part in any of these types of events. I put a tweet out earlier today. I guess it was yesterday evening. That was basically like, has anybody ever met one of these Patriot Front guys? You'd think there's many of them as there are, that people would run into them either at church or because if you're a Patriot Front guy, you're probably pretty out there, right?
Well, why can't you? Why don't you find out where they reassemble their rally point at the end of their march, and then follow them to wherever they park their vehicles, and follow a few of them home. I'm just saying. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean,
Come on,
that
folks.
would be the TTP that would probably get you the most, results on that. But
and you follow multiple ones. So if a couple spot the tail and practice good surveillance detection, I'm sure there's always one doofus in the crowd, and you can find it, and you can follow them to the federal building, the next day.
My guess is they're getting paid to show up for these marches. It would be my guess. That's how I would get people if I had money and wherewithal to do an event like this.
but these guys all look slim and trim, and they look reasonably fit.
These have been selected.
Yeah, I mean they're the Adonis Brigade, I guess. I don't know. Shit.
Boy,
and I'll say it again. If I asked 35 people to show up at the same place in the same clothing, we'd have about 26 different variations of that clothing, not everyone identical.
Isn't it also super fucking weird that every single one of them happens to have a federal agent compliant haircut? Isn't that weird?
I can't tell because they always have those full head masks.
The biggest indicator that they're fake remains the fact that the flag they carry is the Ohio state flag. And the flag on their top is the Ohio state flag.
Talking facts, Joe. Nobody wants to hear it.
I told Clay that once, and Clay was like, "Dude, you're right." It is.
All right.
Well, hey guys. So
moving on.
That despite election issues being crazy, things can be crazy in places where they don't have elections.
Yeah. Did you guys know that China owns a country, literally? Experts said there's no other nation with a higher debt exposure than Laos.
They own several countries, by the way.
Yeah. Well, right. I think this is probably the first one that's outright, right? Massive loans from China.
Uganda was first.
Yeah. So. Well, right. Yeah, they absolutely foreclosed on that airport. Massive loans from China have plunged Laos, one of Beijing's closest allies in Asia, into a major debt crisis, sparking concerns over the country's future.
You might want to read Mexican Iron Man's tweet first, or his super chat.
Mexican Iron Man for $4.99 says South Carolina Hilton Head Taco Militia stands at the ready to defend the Constitution, also known as the Tortilla Front.
Oh boy!
Oh man! For somebody who's not a YouTuber, he's a talented man. All right, a good friend of the channel there. Following Laos's recent disclosure of foreign obligations have almost doubled, and that it needs more delays to avoid default, China said that it is assisting its neighbor in reducing its enormous debt load, Bloomberg reported. So what does that mean? That probably means foreclosing on national assets is what I guess that means. In written response to inquiries earlier this week, a spokesperson for China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that Beijing has engaged in mutually beneficial cooperation mutually beneficial, I'm sure, with developing nations such as Laos, which entails considerable support for social and economic development.
Well, it is mutually beneficial. Laos gets a bridge and China gets a whole country.
That's right. Just so happens they get the pieces of the country that the bridge are attached to as well. At the same time, it's been doing this its best to help relevant countries alleviate their debt burden. I'm sure. The Chinese statement appears to be firefighting a situation that it may have only created. With over half of Laos' $10 billion in external government debt, China is by far the largest creditor. The tiny country's entire publicly guaranteed debt at the end of the previous year was 13.8 billion, or a whopping 108% of its GDP. That's nothing. That's nothing. Just look at our debt. Laos deferred US. This is 670 million USD in principal and interest payments due to its US. Let's see, 950 million USD in external debt obligations made last year. According to previous statements from the World Bank, those actions have offered brief respite in recent times. The majority of Laos' state debt is attributed. Here we go. BRI enters the chat. Is attributed to infrastructure deals made under China's Belt and Road Initiative. Troubles continue to mount for Laos as its foreign reserves have been reduced due to borrowing from billions from President Xi Jinping's government. To fund roadways, trains, and hydroelectric dams under China's Belt and Road Initiative. The communist, so shocking that the communist country has worked itself into this kind of problem. I could keep going, but it's yada yada yada. They have essentially mortgaged their country, and now China's ready to come in and foreclose. Guys, I mean, this is Do you think that we could actually see a kind of I don't want to say like a colonial government, but some sort of a quasi, like a legitimate takeover of a country through via acquisition in this kind of manner, whether it's China or some other, larger country. The WEF could literally, kind of move in on some, it's like they did with Sri Lanka. They set up these programs, that break these countries. And if
how much influence do you think China has over Argentinian politics, given the fact that they pretty much build bases in Argentina wherever they want because Argentina owes them so much money?
Yeah.
I think 100%. Kind of their way, right?
Even with the new Argentinian president and regime?
Well,
you know what? Still owe the money.
How much reform has he actually been able to accomplish?
He hasn't gotten a haircut, that's for sure.
He has not spent any money on a haircut. I will give you that.
No. But this whole Belt and Road thing and WEF. I mean, come on, let's be honest. United Fruit Company is the one that's built the playbook on this. So of course we just focused on small nearby countries within the same time zone. So, but China's going global.
And even before that, I mean, back to the British East India Trading Company, would literally come in and administer the, entire nations.
Don't forget they were Dutch and French East India companies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The British was just, I think, the biggest. But
that's right. We've all read Shogun and watched the new miniseries. Ooh.
We have not all watched the new miniseries.
Oh, it's
is it good?
I think so. Yeah, although it ends abruptly, which I didn't appreciate. But
that's one of those things. There's going to be another season, right?
I don't know. The main character. Well, the female main character died. Oops! Spoiler alert.
It seems like I actually read that book once upon a time, but that is a book. That is a thick book. I mean, it is anyway. So Joe, this is, I think, just the next step after what we saw in Uganda, right? They were literally taking over and seizing critical infrastructure that was, I hate to say, but it's fairly unheard of at the time when that was occurring, at least in modern times. I mean, I think, like we just cited, there's some older instances where that kind of thing happened, but In modern times, this is something that's new. Let's be honest. What is it? Idi Amin would never have allowed Entebbe to be, overrun by the Chinese.
That's true.
No,
And
he let it overrun by the Israelis instead.
Well, I don't think he let it. I don't think he had much choice in the matter.
Sorry, I had to throw that out there.
No, you're right. I set up for that
if you think about this, the Solomon Islands, right?
Oh, yeah.
Are going down this same path. There's no way they're going to be able to pay for all the Chinese infrastructure projects on their tiny little island with their little tiny GDP. So it will eventually become a Chinese. It's a protectorate now. It'll become a Chinese outpost, and that is a shame because an awful lot of U.S. Marine Corps blood was spilled on that island.
Hey, Scott, I just want to follow up what Joe said. So I've been reading an alternative history on World War II that is a lot of typos and shit. But anyways, it's an interesting. It shows it's written more from the Japanese Imperial Japanese perspective, and the Solomon Islands are. I mean, it's a great way to outflank Australia and interdict the sea lines of communication from the Americas to Australia and New Zealand. And it's so Joe's absolutely right. I mean, the Chinese are just they probably dusted off a playbook, got somebody to translate it, and off they're going. I mean,
I actually knew that because they're pushing for bases in Kiribati and Vanuatu. So that's exactly what they're doing, right?
Yeah,
it's exactly the old Japanese playbook. So
it is. And the biggest difference in this alternative history of World War II that I'm reading is it talks about how the U.S. industrial might is going to overwhelm the Japanese because of shipbuilding and resources and things like that.
Oh, we can't do that now.
It's exactly the opposite now. The Chinese have got all that. So it doesn't bode well for the future. Anyways, I digress.
Yeah. Well, by the way, what's the series that you're reading?
Oh, I don't have my Kindle in front of me, so it's a 10-part series. I'll send it to you on your chat.
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right. Yeah.
It's okay.
I was pretty big into like alternative history type stuff for a while there. I haven't read any of that in a while though.
I mean, the good thing, he doesn't just talk about the main campaigns and so, but he also talks about industrial base, but he also fails to address the Japanese warrior code, and which is why Japanese submariners never attacked merchant vessels, because no, we're going to save our torpedoes for the really big one, and so the merchant vessels were pretty well allowed to, especially on the West Coast, were allowed to transit unimpeded, as opposed to what the German U-boats did in the spring and summer of '42.
Oh man, that was the one thing about these alternate history authors that is helpful is that they're almost all like history nerds, right? Like they really know some like deep in the weeds kind of history facts. And so even though it's an alternate history, so not the way history really occurred, you're always learning new details and new things. Like the Harry Turtledove's Guns of the South is kind of like one of the classics of that genre. And
before he took Joe Biden drugs,
right? But no, man, that was a great. I don't care what your politics are today. If you wrote a good book 30 years ago, it's still a good book.
Oh no, I got it.
But just the insight into like Bobby Lee and all this kind of stuff, in that book is tremendous. So I recommend those type of books. Yeah, Turtle Dove has TDI. I know. I only found that out actually like in the last couple months, which is kind of sad. But I haven't read his books in a long time, so I don't feel
like it's much like Mersheimer and his shouting "Dem Jews" every 10 minutes. Guy's brilliant everywhere except on one topic.
I mean, we all have our blind spots. That's the big problem there. All right, let's move on. Let's see. I'm back to So Orban has been like just going around the bases in the last couple of days here. China's Xi calls on world powers to help Russia and Ukraine resume direct dialogue. It's almost like we're starting to see a theme from a lot of different angles, Joe. A lot of people out there in the world want this war to end, and eventually it probably will, by hook or by crook. Let's see. Orban made a surprise visit to China after a similar trip last week to Russia and Ukraine to discuss prospects for a peace settlement of the more than 2-year war. Hungary assumed the rotating presidency of the European Union this month, and Orban has since embarked on a peace mission, which, however, lacks the endorsement of other Europe. Wouldn't it be so funny if he could actually make peace without any of the endorsement of the rest of the EU? That would be absolutely amazing.
But it's very telling, too, because if you look at the positions of all of the EU and NATO leaders yesterday on Viktor Orban, they were literally spitting fire and throwing nails at this guy. They're all like, peace? No, no, no. War is the way to make peace. And that's just a silly spot to be in, and it exposes them for what they are. They want war with Russia to try and destroy Russia.
Well, we'll see more this week because tomorrow begins the NATO summit in Washington, D.C., hosted by that ever on the spot Johnny Joe Biden.
Yeah, the NATO summit should be interesting to see where that goes.
I want to see if Georgia Maloney saves him from walking off again, or
I mean, she has been there. It's like, Mama Maloney is what I want to call her.
There's a joke there.
I know.
That's what she wants you to call her too.
That was kind of the setup for you, Joe. This next story is really interesting. This is one that Watcher. Where did we see this originally? It was in a video. What was whose video was it? Oh, it was China
Uncensored.
China Uncensored, right? So this is a story that we got from China Uncensored. So hat tip to that video. That YouTube channel is excellent on pro kind of anti-CCP channel. Very good on internal stuff going on in China. So this is the Guardian, so take that with a grain of salt here. But Chinese Communist Party expels 2 ex-defense ministers for corruption. Li Shangfu, who vanished from public life last year, and Wei Fenghe, accused of, I know that's wrong, but I don't care, accused of accepting gifts and facilitating benefits. Li was sacked as defense minister in October, 2 months after he disappeared from public life. He served just 7 months as defense minister. No explanation was given for his sudden removal, which temporarily destabilized efforts to rebuild U.S.-China defense dialogues. On Thursday, the Chinese state media said Li and another former defense minister, had been expelled from the CCP. So this is like not just being fired from their job at the Ministry of Defense, but this is now being kicked out of the party completely.
This is literally the unpersoning, like you saw in the book 1984.
Yeah.
But I always do this, and I'm going to do it again. I'm going to bring up the prophet Tom Clancy. In Red Storm Rising, just before Russia made its grand move west into NATO, what did the defense minister do? He fired 4 colonels and had them executed, right?
Yeah.
This could be the same thing. So,
but the only difference here is Lloyd Austin has offered both of his former counterparts seats on the Raytheon board, so I think it's okay.
Wow,
that would not surprise me at all.
The interesting thing to note here is that unlike all the other CCP purges that we've seen since 2012, when she took over and started purging Jiang Zemin's acolytes, these are Xi's own guys. These are 2 people that he handpicked and hand put in these roles.
Well, better to correct a mistake than live with it.
Well, right. And so this either goes to just the inherent corruption within the CCP. So even the loyal guys are going after their own to the extent where Xi has to, essentially purge them. So Xi Jinping, China's president and head of the military, has made anti-corruption a cornerstone of his leadership since coming to power in 2012. But the numerous purges last year have raised questions about the efficacy of the graft-busting campaign. Some of the senior figures to be axed, such as Li Wei and Qin, were appointed with Xi's approval, exactly like Watcher said. These are his guys, right? People purged from the senior ranks of the CTP may be left to live their remaining years in political or social exile, or they may face harsher criminal penalties. Last month, the court sentenced to death Bai Tianhu, a former general manager of China Hurong International Holdings, a bank, for accepting bribes of more than 110 million pounds. The military purge is thought to be related to an investigation announced last year into corruption in military procurement. Watcher, what were we going to say?
Yeah, so this is, I think this article was written before the charges came out, because the charges have been officially announced, and one of them was charged for A, corruption and procurement, but B, like the bigger charge for both of them in the Chinese political system is that they've both been charged with severely corrupting the political integrity of their respective departments of the thing. And this doesn't mean a lot unless you understand that the Chinese, so in America and in every other country, there is an army, and then there are political parties that vie for control of the government, which controls the army. In China, there are multiple political parties, the Communist Party being the only one that has any sort of power. And the army itself is not the Chinese army. It is the army of the Communist Party specifically. It would be as if the Republicans or the Democrats had their own private armed forces.
Well, I have an alternate theory to the crime, if I may. If you recall, historically before World War II, Hitler purged a lot of the general staff people that didn't want to accelerate the modernization of the German military to the point where Hitler was going to get froggy and, hey, let's go invade Poland and France and have fun. He purged all these people because they were overly cautious. And maybe these two, hey, we've got a pretty little military. The paint jobs on the Navy ships actually don't show a lot of rust. So let's not take it out and break it. And that probably pissed off the president. He says, no, we need to exercise our military options. So just an alternate theory.
Hey, Marlene, it's China Uncensored, and I'll actually give you a link to the video on our way out.
Yeah, it's a worthwhile video, and the channel is excellent as well. So definitely check it out. All right, let's. We got one more to go here, I think. Yeah.
No, that's just unless we move stuff.
Yeah. There's one more story at the very end.
There we go.
So it's not a show unless we mention Ukraine somehow. Ukraine war briefing. Chinese troops hold military exercise with Belarus on Polish border. So this is that SCO we were talking about last week, right? Belarus has finally joined the SCO. So Chinese military personnel are beginning joint anti-terrorist training with their counterparts in Belarus on Monday, close to the border with Poland. The Eagle assault exercises by the two Russian allies amidst the war in Ukraine will be held over 11 days in the border city of Brest, Belarus, which will involve tasks such as hostage rescue, anti-terrorism operations. Chinese Ministry of National Defense said it comes days after Belarus officially joined the Shanghai Cooperation Organization led by China and Russia, deepening their coordination on military, economic, and political matters. Ron, you up first. What's your take on this?
Well, I think it's all demonstrative. It's not a really, it's not like a team spirit exercise or a forger exercise or something. I mean, come on, how many Chinese?
There's probably 30 guys, like 30 Chinese guys, right?
Right. I mean, my son, when they went to JRTC there at lovely downtown Fort Polk, they had a company of Japanese airborne troops that, it was really like, okay, guys, we're going to go back to Fort Benning and learn how to do this stuff all over again. So, but they brought them out. So, I mean, we could, say something along. But what I want to know in this picture is, how come you're dressed differently, dude, in the sea blue shirt? I mean, where's your green shirt? Don't you realize that everybody else is dressing the same? And why does it look like? And why does it look like the Brighton Beach thug gang?
Oh, yeah, it does. But he's from accounting. That's what Central Casting sent him up in.
That's the
no kidding.
CIA member of the staff, actually.
The CIA advisor, right?
I'm sorry, and I want to piggyback with Ron on this. There's no reason ever for a president of a nation to appear at negotiations in a T-shirt. It is an undergarment. Not, I mean, seriously, wear your combat shirt if you want to, but not a T-shirt, bro. Grow up.
Well, it's hot. I mean, temperature-wise, not looks-wise.
Right. I don't know, man. He does look pretty hot. Do you know what the Polish call breasts? Poland. So it's kind of an affront to Poland to hold it in breasts. So,
well, anyway, yeah, I think the Chinese and the supposed North Koreans coming to work with the Russians, it's all performative art, but it demonstrates some sort of solidity to the solidity, not salinity, but solidity to the alliance.
Yeah,
I'm sorry,
I think so.
Not enough coffee this morning.
I think Mads is right too. Even the name Eagle Assault is meant to be a reference to the U.S.
Yeah.
Poland has the eagles. They have as the national bird.
Hey, that reminds me. What kind of eagle is on top of the globe in the Marine Corps emblem? Does anybody know? It is not a bald eagle. It is a golden eagle.
Yeah,
because it's found all over the world, just like Marines.
All right, guys, that's about all we've got for the show.
Try to educate the Air Force on the Marine Corps on a daily basis.
Oh, that's just a low blow, Joe.
And how do Marines get all over the world? Well, they can take a slow boat to China, or they can take a fast.
Y'all are a great bunch of guys, Ron. When we need to get somewhere really fast for a fight, y'all give us a ride. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. And don't worry, we'll keep your bowling league slot open for you when you guys get back.
Nice.
All right, guys. Like I said, that's about it for the show today. No more things. Let's go around the horn and look to the week ahead. Joe, thoughts, concerns?
I somehow have to reduce all of these books and these radios and gear into a few boxes and crates in the next few weeks. So that's my thoughts and concerns. If anybody wants to help, feel free. On that note, though, we have decided that what we're going to have in Montana, it'll be at the event, is I'm going to create a gear stash for folks who don't have everything they need when they come to a class. You need a new chest rig. We probably have a few here that have been donated or have showed up at my house for some reason. We might put those out there, some older gear to help outfit guys who might show up and be like, well, I can't come because I don't have all the cool guy gear. Well, maybe we've got a bunch of extras that we all have had piled around, and we might be able to help outfit you with some gear. So it's going to be sort of a donation based gear supply, so that we can crowdfund gear for some guys. So I've got a ton of that here. Some of it's actually left over from a charity that we all did a couple Christmases ago, Outfit a Goon. Me and Demp and a few others got together, Danielle, and we had everyone send us gear, and we just started sending out. We said, hey, send us a story about your guy on Twitter who needs gear and why he should get it. And we sent all kinds of gear out all over. So we're going to be doing that. And I'll be, I'm in full prep mode. I leave in 2 weeks for Montana. So we're going to be there. I'm going to crack the whip on those guys about the website. And I'm going to do a couple of edits they had to the schedule for me. If you're speaking at our event, Scott, maybe send me a list of a couple of your topics so I can put them on a schedule and we know what they are.
We just need to put the actual council panel events on there too. And I think domestic and foreign are probably the best two panels for the CFC panel.
Oh, the whiskey panel will occur as well.
That's a different type of domestic.
Is that whiskey or bourbon? Because whiskey implies many.
Well, that's the discussion, right? I put it on the schedule. I don't know if Scott saw it, but I said we're going to have a whiskey panel where we discuss why Scott is wrong.
So bourbon is American. Everything else is foreign. You drink anything else, you're a foreigner.
Dude.
Hey,
They've been making whiskey long before America over in Scotland and Ireland, bro. So.
Oh, I've got no problem with foreign whiskeys. I just think that bourbon is better.
There you go.
And this is why we need to discuss why Scott is wrong.
Yes. Well,
So is one of Scott's discussions going to be how I learned to pronounce Ukrainian place names?
Oh, I think that's a great idea. Pronouncing place names with Scott. I think this is a great idea.
I think geography with Scott might be a good
People can bring in their own map and ask Scott to pronounce
fun to learn geography.
And are you going to label this this gear pile Joe's loot drop?
Dude, that's actually a great idea.
You're welcome. I might just have to show up for that saying, yeah, I got 6 of these. I got 5 of these. I don't need any more.
You know, Joe, what you need to do is you put each one of them in the same size box, right? And then and so it's like you have all the boxes, with all the different, and some of it's like a $2 piece of gear, like a cheap old box of cereal compass, and the other stuff could be $100 piece of gear or whatever. But they're all in the same size boxes, and they pay $5. That would be a donation to the Camp Ponderosa charity.
Not a bad idea.
It's a loot. It's just like in the video games how you pay to get the loot boxes and things like that.
Well, Ron doesn't know how right he is, because that's the discussion that spawned this. Was when I said something about getting a new chest rig from Matt when he sent me the brush beater rig. My wife was like, dude, the last thing on this planet that you need is yet another chest rig. Oh my God, you only have one chest. You have 37 chest rigs. And I was like, well, maybe it's time to part with some of the old ones. But some of them have nostalgic feelings, right? At least one of them still has sand in it from a very sandy place. But we will recycle some of it and get some on there. And by the way, Hunch, you are like a dog with a bone. That photo is illustrating a guy in a 1980s drip. Stop it, Hunch. We want you to come up into the 2000s, bro.
Yeah, that. Oh, good Lord.
So what else you can discuss at the whiskey panel is blends or singles?
That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, blends can be great, but single malt.
The guy who knows whiskey
single barrel
is the guy with an entire wall of whiskey in his house, Ron. So Ron has more whiskeys than my local liquor store in stock. So that's
as it should be.
So Joe, that picture that Hunch, actually, let's share this picture, shall we?
It's all there.
You just brought this on yourself, Hunch.
Hunch, can we share this picture? Is this a picture of Hunch?
No, it's from
I was gonna say it doesn't look like him. It doesn't look like him. That's why I'm autistic.
Way too tall to be Hunch.
Oh well, that's true. He's above the camera. No, the thing for me is the car 15 with the CCO on top of it.
That's exactly what it is. This is like it's like 1996-ish. Look at the chest rig he's wearing, right?
Yeah, is that that was one of those matte.
Well, since none of us can see it,
show it up here.
Yeah. Let me see.
I've got it in a text message, so I can't put it up there. So
there we go.
I don't know what we called this thing, but it's like the mid 90s fighting load carrier.
Does it work?
Out.
Well, what was
well, then what's the problem? If it ain't broke,
LBV. This was
called
LBV.
So the problem was, Hunch, if you notice, that rifle does not have a removable charging handle.
Correct.
Yours does. So if you can remove the charging handle and put the optic closer to the bore, you should. It just
this was something they did because they couldn't remove the charging handle. And do you remember the goosenecks, the things that would actually bring
it down in front? Yeah,
in front of them. Yeah.
Let me do you one better, Hunch. Do you know what an optic is? It's a bunch of really fragile glass and a bunch of little nice holders all arranged in exactly the right position. And if anything dislodges by so much as a fraction of a millimeter, your optic is effed and takes professional level help.
I'm sure
any
Hunch
amount
has
of
probably
wiggle.
zeroed it out wherever it's mounted.
Well, right.
Let's give
But
him some credit.
But any amount of wiggle that you introduce to that can induce more damage to that optic over time. What do you think putting it on top of another detachable object does every time you fire it?
Look, the only amount of wiggle that will come through my scope will be if I'm at a beach and I'm checking out the girls.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. I do
Dirty
like
old
the
man.
comment. The comment here says, "What suppressor is that? Looks great on retro build. Suppressor, lol. This is the old Car 15.
Yeah, that's just the barrel. Yeah, the bull
Yeah,
barrel.
I can't. There was a name for this thing, and I can't remember what it is.
It was
and there
the
was a
bull
reason.
barrel.
No, not the bull barrel. This is this is the flash hider that was on the Car 15s.
Oh,
I can't remember
right.
the Vietnam era ones. You know, they were longer and thicker.
I want to give Rowan Coward a point. You are correct. Risers are great if you're needing to use nods, but we already went over this with Hunch, and that's not the case.
Well, or if you're shooting with pro masks.
Look, I'm going to give Hunch a lot of props here because this is what we carried when we went to the Balkans. This is the way we looked. This is the way we initially went into Afghanistan in 01 and 02.
The 90s trip.
And we had journalist vests, and everybody thought we were a bunch of AP stringers. I'm kidding. And
I still have a couple of those vests around, man.
So do I. And I mean, obviously, this sort of tactical gear has evolved and continues to evolve with some really great companies out there, constantly on the cutting edge. So it's like literally like your iPhone 1 works just as well as your iPhone 14. I'm saying it's like it ain't broke, don't fix it. So don't be busting on poor Hunch on the photo. I got it, but it works. It works.
This is Hunch's purpose for existence is for me to bag on him, and he knows it.
And give free gifts, membership gifts to people.
Yeah.
In all fairness, I still rock a lot of the tactical tailor gear that I got back in like 04 and 05, right? You know, it was all like OD green color.
Wait,
so
I'm surprised it fits.
Well, it's
listen, gents. The steam-powered tractors are great. I love that people still maintain them, and I think that they're excellent. But there's a reason people drive New Hollands and John Deere's.
Yeah, so when the EMP thing happens, all those new ones won't work, and the steam.
You know, Joe, look, it's my tactical tailor pouch from my Iraq deployment, like 20 years ago.
When tactical tailor was cool.
Tactical tailor was the shit back then.
Is that your bug out bag? So when you go to the CP, when you go to CP Tango.
That's right. CP Tango bag.
I've never in my life had a jerry curl, but my wife is in possession of a photo of me from high school where it was pretty darn close. But that's why I've had this same haircut since 1970 or 1987, because if I do let my hair grow out, it does get curly because I'm Italian, and it gets sad. So no, 90s Joe did not have a jerry curl. He had this haircut.
I may or may not have a picture on my phone of me in freshman year in high school. So if you want to see what I look like,
dude, my friend Todd, not the Todd in the chat, this other Todd, had the best mullet ever, curly in the back, shaved on the sides. He was rocking, but not me.
90s watcher rocked a flat top.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Well, I mean, you were like 9 years old back then.
Anyway, somebody pointed out that that's called a dissipator, Scott. The thing.
Yeah, dissipator. Barrel. That's correct. Yeah. There was something to it, or moderator.
The secondary purpose of the dissipator was to enable you to put a bayonet on the CAR. So
yeah.
It always comes back to the bayonet.
It always comes back to the bayonet. All right, gentlemen. Ron, looking to the end of the week, any kind of crystal ball action you got going on?
Well, I think this morning the 3 Biden episodes, the phone call into the Morning Joe program, his cancellation of the meeting with the senators, Nadler and the other senior House reps coming out against him, as well as I guess the fourth thing, Biden's letter to the congressional Democrats, 2 pages of explaining why he needs to stay and why he's the only hope for American democracy and yada yada yada. It's only going to get worse. I mean, it's only Monday morning. Good Lord.
And, oh wow! Hold on. Just to back up what you're saying, He's even lost Stephen King now.
Yeah, I saw that. This is savage.
And Rob Reiner.
Unbelievable. Can you watch? Can you read that, Watcher? I can't read it.
Yeah, Joe Biden's been Stephen King says Joe Biden's been a fine president, but it's time for him, in the interest of the America he so clearly loves, to announce he will not run for re-election.
Well, read Elon Musk just below it.
Even Stephen King's voting for Trump.
Elon Musk is the best troll ever.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh man.
Hunch a Dirty Roof for $5 says, so if we're saying that modern is better, then it's a good thing they got rid of the bayonet leg, right? Right, Joe?
But that's not true. So it depends
people
on
say
where you get your rifle from. The Marine Corps has not relinquished their A2s and A4s. So
yeah, I was going to say, I don't know what you're talking about.
M4 has a bayonet leg on it.
The Marine Corps is going to probably remain rocking the older rifle system until 2 wars from now.
Oh no, they've already said that they are not adopting the spear. So,
no, that's
there
good.
you go.
And yes, Rob Reiner, Karen O. Rob Reiner also came out against Biden's continued candidacy, but that begs the question that everybody needs to be asking. So, okay,
Rob
so
Reiner did it a short time ago. I couldn't resist. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Ha ha.
What a meathead.
Yeah, a double. Okay, guys. And but it begs the question. So if he's not qualified to run for shouldn't be running for president anymore, should he remain president? Just saying.
Bingo.
So anyway,
yeah, it's interesting. We'll see.
I would like to make a prediction about the rifle thing.
Watcher.
Yep. You're going to ask me for how I'm doing and for sign off, but before we move on from the rifle thing, I want to make a prediction.
Oh, go ahead.
I think the Marine Corps will be the first ones to do the obvious, sensible thing in the modern era and re-adopt a battle rifle, moving back to 308 or similar.
Well, that's the argument for the spear. It's essentially a modern battle rifle.
No, except for that the spear went to a new round that is not.
Yeah.
How about more likely to go back to the Stoner AR-10?
How about just going back to the M14 with and get rid of the wooden stocks and get the composite stocks?
I'm with Joe. Probably, I think the AR-10 is actually, like, if we're talking legitimately, the easiest way to just go back into it. That's probably like a modified AR-10 with some modern.
Well, the answer then would be the spear in 308, which they already make.
So they made a mistake in World War II. They adopted the Johnny gun for a very short period of time. Yeah, it was a legit gun for World War II.
What could go wrong with that?
And then they switched back to the Springfield and then went with the Garand. They should have kept that Johnny gun.
And I just want to reiterate what many others have said. On the modern battlefield, defeating body armor is going to become key because ceramic body armor has become cheap enough that even low-tech forces can rock it now.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, you look at the quality of the body armor we're seeing coming out of China and Russia and other kind of not first world countries, and it's body armor that I wouldn't want to wear. But you're right. I'll be honest with you. I'm a fan of the spear. I'm not a fan of the round in the spear. I do like 308 better than that 270 round. So.
Yeah. Anyhow, things for people to look at. Guys, I think Ron said it. It's sad in a way. It really is. But I do believe that the party is making internal decisions, and I don't know which direction they're going to move, but something big's going to happen within the next week, I think. When's the next debate going to happen? Is supposed to happen? It's next month.
September.
Yeah, it's clear. I think something's going to happen before that, but I could be entirely wrong. There's so much tension in the air. I feel like something must happen. There are too many people that are making blows at the party that are going to be damaging, even if if they cheat him into victory and he wins. They're damaging their long-term prospects with what they're doing now, and none of these things are done without a reason. We like to to point at the Democrats as being the party of emotionality, but the fact is that time after time they prove to be the ones who have actually done the groundwork and planning. They just happen to use their emotionality as a part of their motif and their weapon.
The nice thing is that Donald Trump has been very quiet, because what's that old adage we learned in war college? Never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be a debate. I think Biden will use the "we don't debate with felons" thing to stay away from it, because he doesn't want another disaster. But I want to address the thing going on over on Rumble. The Select Fire M14 has a drip factor all on its own.
I was gonna say, is somebody talking bad about the M14? What's
You said the M10 here in the M14.
You're actually not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to talk bad about it.
Yeah.
Hey, all I know is that some California Army National Guard guys joined us, our team in Iraq in my first deployment, and they all were carrying M14s. And
I think someone like Indonesia still uses the Select Fire M14. I mean, I think it's pretty
surprised me.
One shot,
one
kill.
When we showed up to Iraq, we had these crazy horse M14s. We had regular M14s, and they sent them off, and they came back right before the deployment, and they were TAC driver M14s. They were pretty amazing.
And the last thing I want to say before I get off is no. Factually not true.
All right, gentlemen. Thank you for showing up, Ron. I know you had some chores, so we appreciate you joining us later in the show. Guys, looking forward to the event that we'll be doing in the beginning of August. Less than a month away already. It is literally going to sneak up on us just like that, and so I'm really looking forward to it. If you're able to get out
next Friday,
if you're able to get out there for it, you're going to have fun. I promise you. This is, we're gonna, we've got some pretty big names that'll be coming, and so we will be very respectful with their time. But for the events, that are a little more CFC related, there will be probably a little more fun had with that. Like I said, talking about whiskey versus talking about guns, or talking about whiskey and guns. That could be fun. There will be campfires. There will be, people will be camping out and staying there. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely it'll be a good opportunity to meet people from the chat and meet people from the council. So I'm hoping you guys will come and join us. Also, it is let's see what we got. What's my countdown to for my campaign here? I think I'm down to the last 16 hours now. Yep, last 16 hours we got 374 backers for $22,324. So if Land and Sea Paradise is something that you might want to be supporting, definitely hit us up in the next 16 hours. We will be doing a show in the evening to kind of do a recap on the entire campaign. Watcher will lead the charge on that. I'll be there. Brent will be there. I think Blaine will be there, but I'll verify that later. And we'll go over the campaign for soup nuts again. I think we'll probably schedule that for around 2 hours. I'll just so you know, Watcher, I'll be calling in from my phone on that one. So should be a good time. And hopefully we can make a buck or two before the end of the campaign is over with. Thank you guys in the chat for being here. Thanks to the council, and as always, everybody stay safe.